Here you are back at Shoot Fire with Ashley, and today we're going to look at a gun to put it back together. Everybody says, oh man, you can't take your guns apart on YouTube, so I thought we would start with one all blown apart like it swallowed a hand grenade and look at the steps to put one back together. Some people are very scared of taking a gun apart. They feel like only a person that has a PhD and a 10-year license in gunsmithing and all that is what you have to work on these, but none of that's true. What you need is a good set of instructions. You need some patience. You need some good coffee and no strong stuff. Don't want any Jim Beam or Jack Daniels when you're working on guns, that is for sure. You need some music. Today we've got Gangster's Paradise. Let me turn that up for you. The reason I'm picking this today is it has a metronome to it. Has some good classical violin work in the background. Got a special beat to it for putting a gun together. This will keep you on pace, on track. So I'm going to just use this as an introduction. We'll post this here in just a few minutes. But you can see what I've got laid out. I've got a slide here to the left. I have a frame here, a lower to the right. Some people call it a receiver. It's a frame for the 1911. I've got one grip that's off. You have to have that off if you have an ambidextrous safety, because your safety's in two pieces. And the only way to hold the one on the right-hand side of the gun is to cover it with a grip panel. So you can see the parts laid out there. And I will let you take the time to take your gun apart and lay the parts out exactly like that, like you see. You may or may not have this threaded barrel. This particular one is a TISAS RAIDER, and I bought one with all the options that you could get. It has the equipment rail here on the bottom, like that. It has the threaded barrel, and it also has my favorite option of all on this. The reason I bought this, I didn't want to cut up all my fancy 1911s. It has the optic cut that is set up for a 507K, or in my case, I'm going to try out one of the new Olight brands, one of their new O-sights, and we'll have a look at them. So, hope you enjoy this video. This is only an introduction, and we'll see if the music bothers anybody and makes them run away. That theme song of this music is supposed to be license free. We'll see how YouTube does with it. But this came from the movie Green Hornet, which I love. When they got in a custom car the first time to go out and fight crime on the street, this is the song they started playing. This is to show my younger crowd out there that I'm not completely a fuddy-duddy. So enjoy, and see ya after the introduction on what we will call part number 2 coming up next. Over and out for now. Today we are going to continue the process of taking care of the problem with the Colt Gold Cup, and I haven't got the new parts in yet, but I wanted to show you, in case you are far ahead of me. Let's say that you have a new modern gun, but it has some MIM parts in it, metal injection molding parts, and you've decided those are too soft for you. Maybe you've had a failure of one of those parts. You would like to upgrade and make your 1911 into a real fighting pistol, one that you could use as an EDC, an everyday carry, one that you could trust to protect you and your loved ones. But you just don't want the shrinky-dink, soft MIM parts on the inside. These were made for quick production and also to lower the cost for production. They don't lower your costs, but Colt charged $1,400 for a Colt Gold Cup trophy, and it lowers their costs. They keep the profit in their pocket. So we're going to bypass that. We don't want any DEI type parts. We don't want any MIM. We want the real thing. So today, what I've got in front of you is a TISAS RAIDER, and we're going to work on putting in the first 2 hardest parts by far for somebody that's very nervous or has not ever worked on a pistol before, and you've got it all apart, you got your new parts in, you're ready to put it back together. This is how we're going to do this. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in, And I'm going to zoom in on 2 parts. We're going to make it 2 or 3 parts that we're going to put in. I'm going to move my camera over a little bit, and I'm going to get right down to these pieces, okay? Here we go. Zooming in, moving, zooming, moving, zooming. And we're going to get real close and personal with what we're going to work on. Okay. So I'm going to point them out, and then you're going to see these even much closer than this. But we want to look at 2 pieces here. I want to identify them, name them, talk about them for just a minute. The first piece I'm going to talk about is this one that you see right here. It has a probe. It's proboscis. Has a probe here on the top. It has a paddle, a flat part on the bottom that you can see right there. That is called a disconnector. This is something John Moses Browning, when he designed this gun, he was an absolute genius. He did not have digital logic at the time, didn't have any circuitry involved, didn't need it. But he made this little disconnector piece make a digital type decision. It makes a decision of a 1 or a 0. It can either disconnect the trigger, turn it into a 0 where it doesn't work at all, or it could become a binary 1, which that means this allows the trigger to work. So it either disconnects you or does not. That is your disconnector, and he makes a decision based on whether your slide is all the way forward in battery, or if it's cocked to rear, or maybe even slightly out of battery. It can keep the gun from firing. If it's in battery, it can allow the gun to fire. That is your disconnector. You can see him right there. You got a hole in the side, probe on one end, and a flat boat paddle looking part on the back side. The next piece, this piece right here, is the Sear. This is the knife edge portion, and this is what is actually holding on to the hammer itself. And I'm going to pull this hammer strut out of the way. Let's get this where you can see all these parts. I want you to see how they work together. This is the Sear. The Sear goes in the frame of the gun. The disconnector is going to be saddling the disconnector. And this piece is what its little claw, like if you had your hand like that, its claw is what's going to hold the hammer in place, either half cock or fully cock. And then when you push the trigger, you're kicking this out of the way and letting the hammer fall. So this is the Sear. This is the part you'd be getting from Wilson Combat, EGW, or Cylinder and Slide, some good top-notch company that makes a tool steel part, and that's what we want to put back in the gun. We want to get rid of the M.I.M. shrinky-dink, metal injection molding, and we want to put in a new disconnector, and we want to put in a new Sear, S-E-A-R. Now I've got my table all set up today just specially for you, for people that want to learn how to do this. And the other piece we're going to work on, this is where we're going to start. When you're putting the gun back together, you need to have a frame. Now, some people call it a receiver, but it's not really a receiver. Receiver is something that you have on a rifle. So this is the lower frame, not a receiver, the lower frame of the gun. And you're going to see me handling that. That's what we're going to build on. It's the foundation that you build your 1911 on. Everything starts there and goes up from there. So again, let's review this real quick before we grab pieces and start up. We're going to start with the very beginning of this is going to be those 2 little pieces right there. The one with the probe and the little boat paddle, that is your disconnector. The one that looks like your hand shaped like a C, that is your Sear. That's the part that rides against the hammer. So those 2 pieces are what we're going to install first. I'm going to teach you how to unitize those and hold them in your hand where one is over the other. And we're going to stab them into the back of the gun. It's very easy if you know what to do. And I'm going to grab up the pieces that we need to get this job done. And we'll switch over to the other camera. And you can see what I got here in my hand. That is the frame. So let's review this just real quick before we get started putting these pieces in. We will be using the trigger today. We will have it in motion a little bit to position the parts so we can pin them. We will be pinning. I'm going to show you where the pin goes. Go ahead and grab the pin. It is a fairly small pin and it has a flat head on one end, and the other end is just a good straight pin. It has a slight rounded edge to it. So that's the pin. Let's talk about where it's going to go. I'm going to do all this in slow motion today. This is where the pin's going to go, is in that hole right there. We're going to be pinning 2 parts. All right, let's look at the 2 pieces. Go ahead and lay the frame down. Remember the name of the 2 pieces. Pick them up and put them in the palm of my hand. The first one is going to be this little guy right here. It kind of looks like your hand in a C shape, and that is your Sear, S-E-A-R. See the Sear right there? Your trigger bow will push on the back side of it right there, and this little claw is what's going to engage the notches in the hammer. It has 2 notches in the back of the hammer. It has a full cock. That's when you're all the way back to the rear and you can put your gun on safe. Or if you're cocking the hammer and it gets away from you during the cocking process, this can also catch the half cock on the hammer. And that's how I knew that I had a problem with my Colt, is it started failing. So this part was made in the Colt out of M.I.M, Shrinky Dink. You can look that up on Google and you'll find out what Shrinky Dink is. But M.I.M stands for metal injection molded, and we don't want those parts. So this is an actual tool steel part. It's what TISAS uses, called a Sear. Now, let's have it right there. Keep it there. Let me grab up the next piece on the camera here. The next piece is going to be the logical part that Mr. John Moses Browning made that can do a binary decision for you, a 1 or a 0, and that is your disconnector. See that disconnector right there? He has a proboscis on one end that's going to go up through the hole. Imagine that. It has a place that the pin is going to go through right there. And on the back side, it has what looks like a boat paddle. And that flat paddle right there is what's going to go directly against the bow, the backside, flat side of your trigger. So when you're pulling the trigger linear on a 1911, you're pushing on that flat right there and making things operate. So let's see how these go together. So the way it's going to go in the gun, the flat side needs to go down like that, okay? So flat side down. Then you pick this little guy up here. This is our Sear. Watch how easy this is. Everybody can do this if you know what to do. So then you pick that up. It's going to saddle. Watch him ride down. Ready? Here he goes. This is pretty tricky, especially when you're trying to do it on camera. And you drop that like that. Look how easy that is, man. That is not that hard. Now, when I've got this zoomed way in, I'm sorry for the movement, but it amplifies my hand movement a bunch, okay? Let me zoom out just a little bit. Maybe it'll make it a little bit easier. Okay, so there's our piece. So now what I'm going to do is use this hand, got an index finger and a beat up thumb, and we're going to grab these like that, okay? Reach in here and grab it and unitize it. So you're going to hold it together. Those pieces are going to stay together just like that, okay? So then we're going to bring the frame of our gun. I'm going to move this over, get it out of the way for just a split second here. Don't give up on me. We're going to bring this gun frame in here. Watch this. Now watch my reference, what we're doing. We're going to turn him over like that, pointing down. And we're going to look right up his backside here. See if we can find a hole there. There it is, man. See that? Okay, see if I can get this at an angle that we can really see it good. Look at that. I got my special lights I borrowed from my wife's fish tank. And there is the bow I was talking about. See if you push the trigger right here. All right, push the trigger. See the trigger right there? That moves a bow, which has a flat plate on the back of it. Stainless steel bow. And there's your flat plate. That's going to be what operates these 2 pieces that we're installing. Okay, so here we go with the install. Ready? We're going to sneak up on it like we're an astronaut, and it's going to come flying in. Look at that. There's the 2 pieces. Remember, I got them unitized in my hand. You got a proboscis right there. We've got the Sear, which is the part that catches the hammer. And you can't see the the boat paddle part because it's between my fingers. So this probe is going to go, you got to go slow on this, so I don't want to mess you all up. Okay, there's a little bit better picture right there, okay? There's the frame, there's the hole, and you can see the bow on the back of the, that would be actually physically the back of the trigger, okay? So here comes the pieces. Try not to shade it too much. That piece has got to go down that hole. It's going to go down the hole, and then I'm going to turn slowly and let it lay down in there. And look how easy that lays. Now, you can do that with tweezers, but it's hard to hold two pieces. So it's very important that that little flat piece right there slide up. See where I put him? Little boat paddle. It's got to go right on the back of that trigger bow. See right there? Now, you can put your index finger right there and hold that all together. You do not want that to get underneath that plate. You want to hold it right there. Let's check the top. We'll see the disconnector is sticking up a little bit. Now, this is where it gets tricky. We have got to get all that stuff lined up where you can see through the hole. I'm going to zoom in some more. We're going to get absolutely crazy zoomy with this. Now, I'm holding that in place, and then I'm putting my finger on the trigger. And what you got to do is you got to get it where you can see a hole that is clear, okay? All the way clear. Now watch this. Okay, now watch carefully on this. I'm moving the pieces, the two pieces I had laid in there. I can wiggle them up and down a little bit, okay? Now see it move up and down? Now the trick is you got to move it up and down in there a little bit, but you also move the trigger. Then you can rock the piece that your finger is on, and when you get everything just right, you will see the most amount of light, okay? And then you hold it right there. Don't move anything. Get your pin. Come on, pin. Show yourself off till you get that pin to start to go down in there, okay? Then, and it seems like you can't do it, but just about the time you think that you can't, it'll go, okay? Once that pin goes down in there, here's your next test. Roll it over very carefully. I'm going to expand back out so I don't drive all my crazy people more crazy. And we'll roll it over. And don't roll over too far. Just roll over enough. You can put your hand over that pin and roll over and make sure that your pieces can't come back out, okay? All right, once those are in there like that, they can't come back out, you're sure of it, go ahead and push your trigger up and down a little bit. I like to do that too. Make sure the pieces are captured. You got them pinned. Then once you get to that point, you are done with that phase. That's the hardest part on a 1911. Say, what is next? I'm going to try to show you the hammer all in one whack. So we'll grab the hammer, and we'll grab the other pin. Now this part, now when you do this now, it's kind of important to remember this. Always keep it, you're working on the driver's side of the gun, always keep it with that pin facing down. If you're a nervous Nelly, you can put you a little piece of tape over that if that'll help you. But let's look at how this hammer's going to go in. This is super easy. Here comes the hammer. The hammer's easy. This is big. This is like caveman stuff, okay? Where does the hammer go? Well, it can't go right there because that's where your grip safety is going to go. So the hammer, is going to go up here. Look at that. Boy, I mean, I got it lined up. That's really easy. This part is easy. So I'm going to lay it over just a little bit. This is harder to do on camera than anything else. And grab my pin. Let's see if I can do all this on camera. I don't know if I can do that or not, but I'm going to try. I'm going to say I can. And wiggle the hammer just a little bit. Look at that pin. See that pin trying to go down? Watch this. Boom. Let's get him down. Pin down. Look at that. All right, now I'm going to put my finger over both of them, and I'm going to grab this hammer and see if I actually got him. Boy, I did. Look at that. He's in there. He is captured. He cannot get away. Now, you can make sure your tail is up like that. Notice I got my finger over both pins. Don't let the pins get away. Put the tail up, and then make sure that hammer's free to move. And now that part is done. So we got the two hardest parts on the 1911 gun are put in, and you got to see it here. About drove me crazy. It's so easy to do this. Once you do it, you ought to probably do it about 3 or 4 times. Get everybody away from you, the kids, the wife, the dogs, everybody, just get everything away, turn the news off, turn the TV off, turn the phone off, and just do it 3 or 4 times by yourself. and study the pieces and see how they work. And once you get good at that, that is by far the hardest part of the 1911. If you want more of a challenge, do it and try to film it and get the lighting just right. And then we'll see how you do. Let me know how you do on that. So we're done with that part, and we will see you back on the next section here in just a few minutes. Over and out for now. So we just completed putting in the Sear and the disconnector, the two hardest parts, and then finished off with the hammer. So we're just reviewing that's where we were at last, and now we're going to go to the next step. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on the parts that we're going to do next. Some people get a little bit confused as to which goes next. So what I do is think about the theory of operation. We've got a Sear, and it's just flopping around in there. We've got a disconnector. It's also just flopping around in there. And they both need some spring action. So we need a spring to put on them. And that puts us out here on this thing that we're going to call a Sear spring. Now, if you order one of these, that's what they're going to call it. It is the one there on your left-hand side. Let me zoom right in the center on it. And it is 3 tines or 3 legs. You can call it that. It has 3 different springs, but to make it easy to build, they basically just took a piece of spring steel, put the curve in it, and then it gets machined out. So you've got 3 different prongs there, 3 different legs, 3 different tines, whatever you prefer to call them. I call them 3 different legs. We got one on the far left-hand side. I'm going to give you a blown-up view of this. The far left-hand one is going to be the one that's responsible for the Sear itself. That is the C-shaped one that has the blade on it. It has 2 little square steps on the bottom, and one of those square steps is going to get that pushing against it to push it in and hold it. It will pivot upon its pin axes. It's in the frame, and that will kick it up against the hammer, and the hammer will latch onto that. So that one on the far left is responsible for the Sear, keeping it latched into the hammer. The one in the middle also helps with that. That one is going to be pushing on the disconnector. It will also aid with keeping everything locked up good. Make sure the disconnector stays pushed up and forward. And then the one on the far right hand side, that is going to be for your grip safety only. He does not come into play as far as any tension on the trigger, but he is a very important player to make sure that that gun cannot go off. And he is the only one of the 3 springs that is pushing outboard. So he pushes out and up towards your grip safety and keeps it out. If you're not pushing on the grip safety, that 3rd spring on your right hand side, he's the one responsible. Keep that grip safety pushed out. So those are things you can check too. If you ever have a grip safety that's a little bit soft and just doesn't feel like it's hardly there at all, it's probably going to be a problem with that little spring. That means he sprung in too much. Somebody bent it during installation. So this is going to be our next step, is to put that in place. And I'm going to zoom in with my other camera so that you get to see where that's going. And I'll lay this out here so that you can see it on the gun real quick, and then we'll zoom in on the other camera. So we're going to be going into the back of the gun. You remember we just got through putting in the Sear and the disconnector in the Sear. You can't see the Sear now because the hammer, the roundness of the body of the hammer covers it up, and it latches into the front of that hammer. So you're not going to see the Sear now. He's on hidden operations. He's on top secret mission now to hold the hammer in place. But the only way he can hold that hammer is he got to have some spring pressure to push down, and then as you pull that hammer to the rear, you'll feel it begin to latch up and lock that hammer either the half cock or the fully cocked position. So one of our springs has to push on the 2 steps that you see there. There's 2 square steps. Like I say, we're going to zoom in a minute, but 2 square steps. He'll push on the far left-hand side of those 2 square steps, and then the center one will push on the one that looks like a boat paddle. It's laying on the trigger itself. You can clearly see it. That one that looks like the boat paddle, remember, it has a long probe that sticks up in the middle, proboscis right there, and that probe is your disconnector. So it's a probe on one end, a bolt paddle on the other, and the trigger pushes directly against it. So when you're pulling the trigger, that is stage one. On any 1911, when you pull that trigger, you will feel a point there where you got about 1 pound to 2 pounds of take up, and then you'll feel a wall, and then that's your sear, and then it breaks. But that first take up that you do is that disconnector, which is your center of the 3 springs, the center prong. So now let's look at these up close and personal. I'll leave this one right here, and we'll add another video to it. We're going to put this spring in. So here's the next piece we're going to install, is this nice Sear spring. 3 leaves. We'll put them in the gun, and then we got to have a way to hold them. How could we hold those? Well, we'll go ahead and grab that piece up. We have to have something that will slide up into a track to hold that spring and lock it into place, and that's going to be that piece right there. So I might as well have it in hand. And that is the mainspring housing. This particular one is a military one. It has a loop on it. That mainspring housing has inside it, internally, a mainspring. That mainspring is what's used to operate the hammer. So mainspring is down inside there. It has a cup. The hammer strut is going to ride down in that cup. It has a little bitty micro pin right there. That little pin goes through the mainspring housing and holds that cup and spring in place. You can see it right there. So if you want to drive it out, you'd have to pressurize that, take a small punch and punch right there, and you can get that out. The flat, one side of the pin has a flat on it. So we're going to leave this in place. This is a factory mainspring housing for the nice TISAS Raider. So we're going to use that. What that'll do is that will ride over this spring. It has a clip that's going to go in place, but you have to kind of fish these in first, get them in place, and then the clip goes in. If you put the clip down first into the frame and then try to lower that down, you won't have enough room. This is going to strike against part of the gun. So let's look at this now on our small micro camera over here. So now we got our frame in place, and we'll look at this a little bit closer. I'm going to pull the hammer out of the way, and let's look right up inside there. Got my special lighting in place again. My wife was kind enough to let me use her fish tank stuff. And let's go ahead and zoom this in a little bit so we can get even more detailed analysis. This spring, the Sear spring, the 3-legged spring, is going to lay in this area right here. You can see a little slot right there. That slot is going to be what this tab is going to go in. This 3-prong spring has that little tab cut in it. Now, the mistake a lot of people make when they're putting one of these together, if they've never done it before, is they look at that big opening right there for the mainspring housing. They bring their spring on board like this, and they flop it down in there, and they shoot for that first. That's the way you don't do it, because when you do that, you won't have enough room sometimes to get those pieces, and they'll get hung up. So a better way to do it, see if I can get all this on camera for you, is take your 3 springs, 3 prongs, your Sear spring. If you ever order one of these from Wilson Combat or anybody else, they call it a Sear spring. You kind of fish the 3 into the works first like that, and make sure they're laying on everything, and then after you do that, you can put the slot down. So just lay it in there like that. It's super easy to do, but just make sure when you look inside there. Now let's look at these carefully. Remember, the one on the far left, he is going to be on one of the square steps, and that is your Sear. The center one is going to be going against the disconnector. You can see that right there when I try to pull the trigger. It's trying to push on that one. And then this last one on your far right hand side is only going to be responsible for your grip safety. So now we've got it in place. Double check down here on the slot. Make sure that it is in the little notch there. That's in place. This is in place. So the next step is go ahead and grab up your mainspring housing. I'm going to do this where you can see the whole thing. The mainspring housing comes into play. He's got 2 male tracks, one on each side. Female slot's right here, so we're going to put him in place. So here we go, and once I get up and over that and start to feel a little tension, then I'm safe right there. You can stop everything you're doing, because the next step is going to be, we've got to be able to get a grip safety in there. So let's go ahead and drop the spur down. This is the little leg on the back of the hammer. Let's get him lined up. All right, I'm going to pull that mainspring housing down just a little bit. This is where you don't want a bunch of magnets involved, because if you magnetize all this stuff, it's never going to want to work for you. So I dropped the mainspring housing down just a skosh, and a little, see if we can get that strut in there. Get in there, boy. All right, so him is floating around. This is so much fun to do on camera, I tell you, it's unreal. So, see, centered up, okay? And you can check it visually, make sure it's centered. And then you can be able to push it, okay? I'm going to stop doing all that right now. And that's this little guy right here. You've got to put him in place because you won't be able to get your grip safety in. So it has small end and a big end. You want to put the small end in that hole and get him in there first, get him out of the way. And make sure him is up there safe like that. So now he's in place. That operates the slide lock on one end, goes into it, and it goes into the thumb safety on the other. This is what gives you your crisp thumb safety. Now, if you happen to buy one of these guns, TISAS, sometimes that'll be a little bit soft. You can buy that one little plunger, 2 ends and the spring from Wilson Combat, get you a heavy duty one, and it will make that a little bit more crisp. So, let's go ahead and put this in place. We're going to put this this grip safety in place, bring it on board, and it's going to go. Now notice it has 2 little notches on the bottom of it, and those have to go in between there, right underneath that mainspring housing. So we'll put these in place. I like to get it started up here and make sure it goes into the frame of the gun. Get it started on the frame, and then let it kind of lower down, and then you can, once you get it to that point right there, you can go ahead and push your mainspring housing up a little bit. To be able to get this up into position, we really need this to go all the way, and that means your hammer needs to stay forward like that. Now, to be able to put the thumb safety in, to get him to go through this hole here, this needs to be cocked all the way to the rear. So we don't want to fight with this first. We want to leave this forward. That takes all the tension off of this guy, mainspring housing, and then we can push it in like that and go ahead and put in the pin. Get that held down like that. Give it a little tap. Get the pins tapped, get it started, okay? Once the pin is started, you don't even have to put that all the way. You can see that clearly. I got the pin about halfway. I like to stop about right there just in case I need to make a change to it. All right. So now the grip safety, we've got the hammer forward, but we need to go ahead and cock it. We can cock it now without anything getting away. So now the hammer's cocked to the rear. So now we got the grip safety to put it in there. We got the grip safety held in tight. Now we're going to use that, make sure that hole is lined up good. And we'll take our thumb safety. Now of the 2, make sure you get the one that's got the blade on it, because that's the male side. And it's got to go in that hole first. So let's get it on this side, put it in the hole, and then you want to try to get it in between safety, safe on, and safe off, and then it should go in. One of the things I use on this, just to make it a little easier, you got to get that plunger out of the way. So I use a small screwdriver, and I sneak in behind it and push that in place. And that should go in for you. So now, I got him in all the way. Just a little bit of finesse is all that's needed on that. And once you get that in all the way, then this one has an ambidextrous. So we need to put the other side safety on. I have to feel for this in a little bit. I like to put the one, my main one, for right-handed people, put it down like that, and then we will make this one match. So we're going to go through the hole on this side with the complementary one, the left-handed, for left-handed people, and go through that hole, and we've got him up, and then you just feel for the tab. You'll be able to tell, look at the position of the other one, and feel for the tab, and it's kind of like putting a screwdriver in a slot for a screw. Once you get that, then you can go ahead and try it on both sides. I like to go up and down, make sure they're both together, and they're both operating good. Now the only thing that holds this safety on this gun, or any of them that are dual safeties or ambidextrous safety, is going to be your grip panel. So that's where your grip panel comes in. And I got the screws laid out for it. So we'll bring the grip panel in. You can see the safety there. We'll put him up, get him out of the way, and bring that panel in there. Put him in place. Now I'm not going to tighten these with this screwdriver because it's the wrong one, but it's a good place to get started, okay? And on these, it is a good idea to put a little blue Loctite, because with the G10, it doesn't have any compression like regular wood does. So because of that, they will back out on you. Like I say, all I'm going to do is just get these started, and of a bit that you need to get this job done. It's kind of a hollow ground is what I call it. It's not the typical screwdriver that you see Grandpa would have like a Craftsman. Now I'm going to go ahead and snug that down. I don't try to line up the screw heads on these. Some people go crazy if you don't, but sometimes they just flat won't line up. And you can get by with that if you use O-rings, but I'm not using O-rings today. Or you could just switch over to a Allen head or a Torx head, and then you don't have any screw slots. So we're not going to worry about the slots. That's not a huge deal to me. So now let's check out our hammer, make sure it works good. Hammer works. Don't want to let it slam against the frame, but we've got the hard part done. That's the purpose of this video, was basically just to be able to put in a brand new Sear and a disconnector and a hammer. So we got the hard part done. The rest is under the same conditions that you'd have with field stripping. So got it done. A little bit difficult, not too bad. And then let's go ahead and put that pin in all the way. On that, I like to take my little electrical tape, lay it out like that, get all the other tools out of the way. And I got a punch right here. I think this is, let's see what size punch this is. This is a, let's see what size that is. That is, just for your reference, that is a 1/16. 1/16. I thought it was a different size. 1/16 is a good size for a lot of different things on guns. All right, we'll go into the hollow part of that pin. Make sure we're in the hollow. And then we're going to be able to tap that. That has a Christmas tree pin that goes down the middle of the back. And that pin has a little round notch cut right in the center of it. And when you get where it's supposed to be, it'll kind of act like it's relieved to be there. So there him is. He's right where he's supposed to be. We check the male side, make sure it looks cosmetically sound. I got a little orange paint when I was beating on it. Nobody cares. But now we'll go ahead and switch over to the big camera and finish it up. So let's go ahead and put this slide back together. Get him all laid out. Let's start off with a barrel. Nice barrel like that. This will go pretty quick. Let's do a barrel bushing. That'll go pretty quick. Good fit on that. Let's go a nice heavy duty Wolf recoil spring like that. And we will slide this together real quick and pin it. And see how all that feels together. All factory parts, but we put it together quick so that you can see a complete gun. I can't wait to start shooting this thing again. It stayed out of the shooting range too long. There's that. Then on mine, I have a special O-ring. Put the O-ring there like that. And then this piece of jewelry, Hughes Precision. I do like that a lot. We'll go until we touch the O-ring good, get it kissed down good and tight. Put that safety on. That'll keep everything in good shape. And there it is, good and snug. Then this beautiful little, this is another little piece here. That was from EGW. Hopefully won't launch it across the room. In place. All right. Let's double check everything. Everything feels good. All right. That is a beautiful gun right there. I like me a TISAS Raider. That is a nice, nice rig, man. Now, the next step with this is to get this thing back on the range and start putting some lead down range with it. I've already shot it with lasers a little bit, but the next we're going to do some open sight shooting. We're going to do some function test, do a whole bunch of reliability testing with it. And so far it's proven to be very reliable. I have been shooting it with a factory mags, but I want to go ahead and get my 47D Wilson Combat mag and see if it likes that okay. But for the most part, I've been sticking with the mags that these come with. They ship this with 2 mags, and these are the Metgar, and that's got a blued finish on it, but it is just, I mean, slick as glass, man, slicker than glass. It feels like a piece of chrome, but that's a blued finish on a Metgar magazine. So we'll try this out, this nice TISAS Raider, and see how she does. Thank you for watching so much, and we'll see you again soon. Over and out for now.